Hi, I'm Chris Haigh and this is the Fiddle channel, and today we're going to play the Kesh Jig. Now the Kesh is one of the simplest of all jigs. It's often known as a beginner's tune, but I'm going to show you some bowing ideas, some ornamentation and some variation which will help to make it more interesting. And if you are a relatively beginner, it will point you ahead of the kind of direction that you can take with your playing in the future. The Kesh, it actually has lots of different names, although it's pretty well known as the Kesh today, but Michael Coleman recorded it as Kerrigan's Jig. It appeared in Petrie in 1850 as Tear the Callies. It's also the Castle Jig, the Little Boy Ted in the Hay and the Mountaineer's March, amazingly. Let's start off with the simple tune. And to start with, pay no attention to the bowing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you're of a classical disposition, then you'll be wondering why I was bowing it the way I was. If you look at the last, if you look at bars 14, 15 for example, a classical player would do that with even bows, probably quite a lot too long. Like that. It's painful to watch and it's painful to listen to. Basically, the three notes of a jig are not even. The way I would describe it as the first one is the longest, the second one is the shortest, and the third one is in between. So, if you've just got three notes, the way I'm thinking of it is as a down and an up and a down and an up. So I'm going down, a tiny up and carrying on down. So these are kind of ghosted notes. I call them ghost notes. The middle of each three is a ghost note. Apart from that, the first section is quite easy in that there are four notes, or well, there's an even number of notes in each bar. There's either 4 or 6, which means if you start on a down, then each bar is going to start on a down. But when you get to the second half, you've got an uneven number in several of the bars. So if you start off, then your next bar is going to be an up, and then an up. So it's all kind of unpredictable. So to get around this, you've got to put some slurs in, and I like to put them in here. So that allows you to continue thinking of down, up, down, up. Now you probably think I'm making it look really easy, and if you've not done that before, it's actually really quite hard to get the feel of that jig bowing. But it's something that if you know exactly what you want to do, and I've shown you exactly what to do, then you will succeed in probably a few weeks. You will get there. Next, let's look at some ornamentation. So I'm going to show you some double cuts, some rolls, some slides and a drone. So first of all, a double cut, the end of the first line. So the melody is that, and we're ornamenting the second note with the first finger and the third finger coming just before the note. And we're actually going to slur all three notes and the ornaments together. So that's a double cut. A single cut would be if it was just a single note ornamenting. And I do have a video all about the single and double cuts. Next we've got a roll, which is similar to a turn in classical music. Start with a melody note, tone above, melody note, semitone below, melody note. It's easy to do on a first finger, and we've also got one on a second finger. And really, most of the ornament is coming right at the end of the note. So you're holding that note, and then as fast as possible towards the end, you're just flicking the fingers on. If you can hear clearly those notes, then you're not doing it quite right. We've also got a slide, and that could also come there. And these ornaments really are movable, so you can take them all out, you can put a lot more in, or you can swap them around. Let's play through with the backing with all those ornaments as written. Incidentally, I didn't mention the drone, which is that one. Drones are actually pretty rare in Irish music, but they do occur occasionally. And I've also just done a video about drones, which you might find helpful. Finally, let's look at some little variations. And there are two types of variation. There's learnt variation and there's improvised variation. So if two people learn this tune from different sources, they may have slightly different ways of getting from one note to the next, or one bar to the next. So that's learnt variation, where they've learnt it from somewhere different, and that it's like a separate strain of the tune, a separate variety. And if they pass it on exactly to someone else, they will also have that variation. And sometimes there can be, for a tune, several quite well-known variations which are in opposition to one another. The other type of variation is improvised, where basically the player decides for themselves on the spur of the moment that one bar is going to be slightly different from the last time they played it. It mustn't be too different. Basically, the skeleton of the tune has got to stay the same, and it's got to be immediately recognisable as the Kesh Jig or whatever else it is. Otherwise, it's no longer traditional music. But I'm going to show you various ways that you can do variation. So, starting off with a little bit of syncopation. That kind of thing. It's something, it came in probably about 30-40 years ago. People started doing little bits of this. And there's still people who will turn their nose about even that little bit of syncopation, but it just makes it slightly more interesting. Simplification is where basically you take a few notes out. So instead of, I'm just doing, and it's easy enough to do that in almost any bar. Arpeggiation, where you just do a little arpeggio down and up, or up and down. So that, instead of just doing, or it could have been. More simplification, second half, instead of, we're going to do, and then what I might call a diversion, where you just get from A to B in a slightly different way. So instead of, we're going to do, which, had that been in the original, no one would have noticed, it would have been perfectly fine. It's just a different way of doing the same thing. So here's another diversion and a simplification at the end. So instead of, we're just doing the one note. So let's just play through this collection of variations. Now, I'm certainly not suggesting that you actually learn that version, but I think you should learn from that version. So you learn what the principles are of how you can apply them to any other tune, and that will make your playing a lot more interesting in the long term. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I can send you a PDF with all 4 versions if you subscribe and send me an email. And my email address is at the bottom of the description below the video. See you again soon.